It's a new year, Mark. It's 2025. How has the year started off for you, my friend?
Strong. It's
Nice.
we're 6 days in. I had a nice cold. I'm still getting over that, but yeah, it's been a good year. All right, welcome to another episode of Mark My Bird, a snowboard magazine podcast. I'm Mark Clavin, and I'm here with my co-host.
T-Bird. Tweet, 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 tweet.
Hawk! Hawk! Eagle!
Earlier on your Instagram today, I noticed your partner, Jacka, and your beautiful dog, May, running around in the snow, Mark. Cleveland
Yep.
has snow. Attention, all street crews. Cleveland has snow.
Once again, like we said in 2024, don't come here. I got the whole place locked down. I got my geotags going. I got every spot on lock, and I'm gonna hit them myself.
Cleveland goes through Clavin.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I've been hearing there's some crews in Japan right now. I think there's a couple crews in your rival city of Cincinnati. People are hitting the streets. They're doing it. It's full on winter now.
Yeah, there's a big storm south of us that's hitting like a lot of the Midwest cities that don't typically get a lot of snow. So I'm sure there'll be some really good clips coming out in the fall of 2025. Looking forward to that.
I will say, as far as the West Coast goes, not amazing, not great from what I've been seeing and hearing. I want to say Mount Bachelor might have the deepest base in the U.S. right now. Bachelor has been really good. Mount Hood, not that great, not
This is
incredible.
how 2024 started out as well, though. I mean, Japan kind of took over for the month of January. Every crew was there. And then, everyone kind of saunters back this way and picks up the pieces, and we'll get snow, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I feel like late January, early February, it's going to turn on, and resorts are just going to start popping off. People are going to be filming all over the states. So
Yeah, for
fingers
sure.
crossed, buddy.
Except for in Park City where there's a strike going on. I don't know if it'll be resolved by the time this goes out, but you know, uh, not a lot of terrain opened there due to Vail not wanting to pay their people a little bit more money.
Well, and it's kind of scary too because the strike happened just before the busiest week of the entire year. And if you look at those West Coast resorts, the Park Cities of the world, the Vail Resort of the world, they have so much backcountry terrain. And if storms are rolling through and there's a slab sitting on top of some bullshit snow and you got a bunch of temp ski patrollers, in essence substitute teachers, they're not going to have the experience of that mountain. They're not going to have the rescue experience of the Park City ski patrollers, and they're asking for $2 more an hour. Tell me, in what world can you charge the general consumer $200 plus for a day lift ticket and not pay your fucking patrollers $2 more? Sorry, but
Um,
that's bullshit.
the world would be our world in 2025 in the United States of America. That's where that happens.
Yeah, that is true.
All right, so we do have a very good guest for today, January 6th. He might have some pretty big thoughts for us. Who is it today?
Yeah, this dude. I first became a fan of this guy in 2002, long time ago, when I was working at High Cascade Snowboard Camp. He was part of the On Hill Park crew that was in charge of maintaining the park and enforcing anyone dumb enough to hit a feature before it was open to campers and staff. But I'll never forget when I actually truly was like, whoa, this dude is a fucking insane snowboarder. It was midday, like t-shirt weather, super sunny, and this kid wearing all black drops into the big jump line and honestly did at the time the best backside 540 I've ever seen in my life. I later learned that this kid was from California and he went by the name Bryan Fox. Fox would later go on to become one of the biggest pro snowboarders on planet Earth, coming up through the ranks of Neo Proto Films, then moving on to Mac Dog People, Transworld, Snowboarder, many other esteemed film crews. His photos were scattered throughout the pages of every major snowboard magazine worldwide. Currently, he's one of snowboarding's most adventurous personalities. This dude's Instagram account is like a curated travel blog as he globetrots the world year round in search of deep snow in the winter and perfect waves in the summer. He really has created one of the most memorable professional snowboarding careers in recent memory. He's also got a PhD in conversation, as he's one of the most well spoken and interesting personalities in our culture. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bryan Fox.
Look at your guys' microphones. Pretty serious. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great, buddy. Can you hear us all good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Where
Really good.
where are you right now?
I'm in the Nitro. I guess I'm in Jeff Richards' office in Salt Lake.
Hell yeah. How's the snow out there? We were just talking about like quick snow report before you hopped on. Not that great in Oregon right now. What's Utah looking like?
Um, it's pretty fun, but it's low tide and it's pretty dangerous. They have like a pretty gnarly, like persistent weak layer that could be a little bit dangerous most of the winter.
Yep.
Are
But
you on your way back out to Japan? Did you just come from Japan? Is that in your plans?
yeah, I go on Friday.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, kind of funny these days. Like it's a little bit not it's not a bad thing, but it is funny with Japan. Japan kind of feels like the North Shore now, where it's like this weird migration where just like, okay, I guess the industry goes to Japan in January and nobody acts like everyone's going.
Yeah. The snowboard industry is in a funny place where like the like early I guess early season you could call it. It's like you have this mass migration to Japan and then you have a crew in like DC.
Yeah, yeah,
Those are like the two places where snowboarding is alive and well right now.
yeah. Some street spots. I actually Nitro's making a full length, and so I've been getting like weird little leaks. They're already in Japan filming street stuff right now, and uh, it's just like pretty crazy to be like, holy shit, you jumped on that like on purpose?
All right, if you had to hit a down bar, had to, gun to your head, what's your go-to trick?
Oh, I just gap three-quarters of it, hit the last little bit, like because if you eat shit, you're like still hitting snow. That's my real worry is only going like hip to like second to last stair.
Yep. That's a
You
yeah, that makes sense.
Um, but yeah, I wish that I had like kept caring about riding rails because it is really fun. It is almost just like work wise. I was like, I just don't really like the way this looks for my work anymore, and I'm gonna stop hitting rails. And then now, once you don't hit them, you're like, this shit's terrifying. Like I'm not going sideways on a fucking rail.
I still, not to shower you with praise, but I don't think there's a snowboarder who has a better frontside lip slide and a better backside 720 in history.
Oh yeah, I mean, no, there's got to be like 50 of them probably at this point better than me that you've never heard of.
I want to. Clavin and I were just talking about this. Mark watched it recently. I watched it a couple weeks ago. Your new film, Quiver, is
The
fucking.
Quiver.
The Quiver is just
So,
fucking phenomenal, man. It's
Yeah.
great. Really good.
oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a joy to make. I made it with Alex Craig, who's he's a Scottish Canadian. I mean, he's Scottish, but he lives in Canada. I think he has a passport now, so I guess you'd be like Scottish Canadian, and he's he's a really good friend, but also artistically, he has like very good vision. He's like very good at laying out films as he's making them. So the way he films things, the way he thinks about interviews, the way everything is kind of it's not planned out so that it feels orchestrated, but it is like mentally like kind of almost like little Lego blocks of like this is how this thing's gonna work as in real time as he's filming it. So it's really like a pleasure for me um, to work with someone like that on kind of a project that's like not action based. It's a lot more storytelling and kind of vibe and um, the way like his timing in movies, the way that he allows things to breathe and he doesn't really care too much about making anything on the nose for the viewer. He's okay with people to interact with a film, personally. It's not all like, force fed to you, which is probably the easy way to make things.
Yeah, how does that kind of creativity Tetris work? Because you're a highly creative person, you have vision. I'm sure he's exactly the same, but you're snowboarding, he's filmmaking. Is it like you wake up and say, I want to go do this? Or does he wake up and say, hey, I kind of have this idea, let's go find a place to film it?
Yeah, super collaborative. Because I'm a generally in life, I think I'm kind of bossy and like a little bit controlling of a lot of different parts of life. But I've worked with him now on I think 4 projects, so I like really deeply respect him. And that allows me to also kind of go like, dude, I trust you. You know, we'll like fight over some song or fight over something, and at the end of the day, I'm kind of just like, I trust your vision and your creative flow on these things. But yeah, day to day it's pretty much, who knows what the deal is. He comes from documentary work. He's done a lot of work with like Vice and weird Hulu shows, and just kind of like, non-endemic, really just pulling things out of random people. So he's not coming from our world, which is like, how do we make a pro snowboarder look cool, and like, you're doing this game that's a little bit difficult, where he's just like, I'll go interview any human being alive and try and pull something out of them that is engaging to an audience, which, um I had never really worked with anyone like that before working with him, so it's a pleasure. It's great.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. The Quiver, it's on YouTube. It's also one of those movies that, yeah, it just looks different from everything else that kind of came out this year already. It's not just your action part-based stuff. And when you watch those movies after you've watched an entire fall release schedule of everybody else's stuff, it's one of those things where you go, oh, this is one of the top movies of the year. This is something that like feels different. You kind of enjoy it. You also mentioned that you're 40 in that video.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah,
you guys kind of touch on like the Peter Pan syndrome. You know, you're 40, but you say you're feeling 26. Is
yeah.
that it? As a professional snowboarder, you've seen obviously a lot of the industry change over your time. Is that something that you kind of wrestle with yourself a lot? Just you're getting up there, but yet you still are obviously participating in a sport that is mostly younger kids.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I definitely, there's a ton of different levels there, which the first one most professionals encounter at an age is ego. Like it's it's difficult to feel yourself, whether it's like probably relevancy is the first one that people feel, where you're just like, oh shit, I'm not included in that movie or that magazine, or like this brand that's clearly signing a bunch of people like me didn't sign me, or like you get let go. So that's like your normal, I think, aging feeling, is just like, oh shit, I'm not as wanted. Human beings like to be wanted. The other one is physically, yeah, you have to wrestle with just like, um fear becomes just like way more relevant when you're just like, oh fuck, I'm not gonna fly off that thing. Like, that's a 20-year-old's brain. I was just like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go 100 feet, might hit that tree, it's all good.
Yep.
And like at 41 now, I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm good on not like making that risk. And then other parts of it too, to your point, Mark, like the the industry is also changing. We are all aging, and there wasn't this 20 years ago that we had an ability to look at like people staying in the industry as they were 40 or 50 or 60, where now you have a couple people, not a ton, but you look around and there is like the Dave Downings and the Todd Richards, and people who are quite a bit older than me, who still have their life centered around this industry specifically. I think it'll become more common as we all age and the consumer ages as well, because a 50-year-old consumer is probably not that motivated to buy a product based on like the Dustbox videos.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's so necessary to make like I call it like a spherical culture rather than just like a straight line, right? I feel like we used to be just in this straight line. Like if you didn't fit into this silo, there wasn't room for you, but now it's kind of like Venn diagramming out, right? There's more
Mhm.
consumers that are younger, there's more consumers that are older, and now the older consumers like have some expendable income and they want to get back into snowboarding and they need someone to speak to them and say like, "Hey man, I'm slowing down, but I'm still fucking doing it. I'm still
Yeah.
searching for the same thing you're searching for at a pretty damn high level, you know?"
Yeah, and that's honestly the part of me that like loves still being involved is my interactions with my peers, I guess I'd say, that are like, I guess, non-professional peers, like your consumer who, yeah, like they still want to get after it. I'm not saying these are like 50-year-old dudes who want to go, who can only ride down the groomer. I just mean they're not as engaged with, I mean, I played all those games too. I'm sure you, he's like video parts and like music, and you do the thing. It's a little bit like acting, and then as you age, you get a little bit more of like, yeah, I'm not acting as much. This is the type of snowboarding I legitimately want to be doing. And the fact that it's still translating it to a consumer, I'm pretty lucky or fortunate timing wise. But yeah, I hope the industry, just overall keeps people around, because it does seem to, I don't know. I don't know if it makes the industry healthier or not, but it's cool for us people who are old.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's it's interesting. It kind of touches on one of the questions I had written down. Like, at what point did kind of your storytelling aspect mix in with your career? Meaning, like, when did the traditional standard like 3 minute video part with a song kind of become unappealing to you? And maybe you started thinking like, I want to let people in more and like show them other things outside of my snowboarding and tell those stories.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Think I got lucky in this way that while I was still filming video parts, Scotty Whitlake and I made a little movie called The Rascals. Um, and I was filming for, I think that year must have been like Cheers or Nice Try or something, like one a People movie, I think. Um, and I had a good video part that year where I was like pretty proud of it. But then we made The Rascals, and I mean, part of it probably because Whitlake was involved. Everybody, loves and loved Whitlake. So, um, as those two things came out, the magazines would hit me up about The Rascals, and like, people I talked to were talking to me about The Rascals, and it almost just like made me go like, oh, you should make something. So started making things, and in the process of making things, you go like, well, why am I making it? What do I want the consumer to feel? What do I want? How do I want to affect someone? So it's kind of progressed naturally, of maybe like from The Rascals to all the stuff through Drink Water, Pathology and Mediocre Madness and things like that, where it's just like, how do we kind of like shake up the standard normal video part thing, inject a little bit of fun, and then, yeah, maybe two, like the first one that was really storytelling was Life in General, who also Alex Craig made that too, where it was like, oh, it was fun to think about it differently. And maybe it's a little weird to say, and you guys could be like, oh, that's kind of corny. And, if you think about either a band or even just like a standard artist, a painter, somebody making art for 20 years, you want there to be some level of like progression or different year distinctions and stuff. And at some point, just filming video parts, I felt like I'm just painting the same picture every single year and being like, look at this picture I painted. It's got different colors or something. So I started looking at it like, damn, if I could look back on this career and there be like a lot of different offerings of like, yeah, there's the video parts and the contests and this movie that was pretty normal but different type of music, and then, oh shit, this is storytelling. Or like, I loved the idea this year that like putting out the Quiver, just kind of being like, yeah, a lot of people probably won't fuck with this.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and just being like, it's cool. Like, I really like it. I believe. that it's like worthwhile to put into the industry, and totally agree with somebody being like, "Oh, that's not for me."
Yeah. And I think snowboarding is matured to that. Whereas if someone says like, "Yeah, it's not really for me," they used to get defensive, like, "Well, why the fuck not? It's dope. It's the sickest." And now I think there's a lot of people that are like, "Okay, totally cool," you know.
Yeah.
And that's
My
a
bro-
cool place to be.
yeah. My brother and my brother Steven, he, we like, he's a crazy snowboard nerd, and we always chat about stuff, and he's like, "It's so funny you live in this world that like that's bad," like saying like, "I don't like that movie," or like even just being like, "Well, this is really not that dude's best work," is like mean. But in every other filmmaking or artistic endeavor, like, reviews are totally normal. It's totally normal to be like, "Whoa, that was just not Brad Pitt's best work," or like, "Oh shit, this is definitely the Ramones' worst album," or what, whatever it is, and that's like fine for people to just review stuff.
Yeah, and even in mainstream sports, like Kevin Durant doesn't play well for 4 games, he gets fucking torched by the
Yeah,
media.
yeah,
And he's just like, "Eh,
yeah,
whatever. Like, I'll turn
yeah,
it around," you know?
yeah, yeah. It is like a little bit, somehow we have this industry that's like become a, you're like, "Oh, no one can talk shit on anyone," just like
I,
be you know
I did not see this conversation going this way, but I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. I mean, I've heard the argument where people say like, why talk bad about something in a small niche community when you're trying to kind of talk to the mainstream as well? Because like, why shit on yourself when we're just trying to grow the whole thing as well? And then the other one, the probably more real reason for all that is definitely like there is that weird connection where it is a small group, everyone's kind of friendly with each other, and it's hard to take those shots publicly to things because then it's like, oh, then maybe when they come out with something next year, that relationship's already a little kind of broken now. And then
Sure.
even if you give them props, they're kind of like, I remember what you said. Yeah, snowboarders are not too happy with probably big critiques on stuff because you guys are also, no matter what kind of project it is, you guys are putting your life on the line. And it's like, we all have to, anyone in the media has to respect the fact that, hey, I'm not out there in Japan today where the snow conditions could be bad. I don't know what it was like. It could have been very dangerous, and you still got a usable shot for your project. So,
Yeah, totally. And
yeah.
unlike mainstream sports, we don't have like an 82 game season to make up for it, or a 162 game like Major League Baseball season to like, turn things around. I get what you're saying. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, it's a, like, I think, it's a blurry line because it is also, a it's a it is a public facing job, so there is some level of like, even if the media isn't doing a negative review or positive review, like, it is still happening. It is still like, well, are we taking that dude and putting him on this sponsor or that sponsor or the cover of the magazine? Like, all of the reviewing is happening. Like,
Yeah.
like, it's all just a little bit more subtle and nuanced, and you can like feel when you're like, "Oh yeah, that dude's getting a shitload of like praise right now," because you can tell, because he's getting on every brand and he's on the mag covers, and you even look at it like, I don't know if he's got it as much, but there was definitely that chunk where like Arthur Longo like could not miss. It was just
Yeah.
like every Instagram post, every photo, every part, everything. You're just like, I think everyone's just agreed that that's great.
Yep. He
Yeah.
was like having his moment. I think the very recently the person that comes to mind when I think of her having like a moment right now is Iris.
For sure. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I
Actually,
mean?
that's a
Like, she
yeah,
can't miss right now. Everything she's doing is super dope, and the companies want a piece of that, and that's a really cool thing to see.
yeah. I mean, yeah. She just got on Nitro. She's on this trip in Japan filming, and I just got a picture of a spot that she hit that is fucking insane.
Yep.
Like, when you asked earlier, like, there's no way I'm touching this rail.
Yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely.
Maybe it
And
might be the cover of Snowboard Mag next year. Who knows?
yeah,
This could be a
most
very, very exclusive early leak.
yeah, absolutely. When I got the photo, I was like, "What the fuck? Someone hit that?" And they were like, yeah, Iris just did. And I was like, oh my God.
Yep,
The, the,
momentum is building.
the lack of serious critique, though, does allow, yes, some things to rise to levels that they probably shouldn't rise to. Not person in general, but just work overall. But I will have to say, with this project in general, it's the reason I'm saying it's not for me is because you guys, it looks so good and you guys look like you have everything figured out. I'm just jealous. Like those, this kind of project, like the highlight, the rider in Japan, just although you guys also seem to get skunked everywhere besides Japan in it, but just like I don't know, just it has to do with the filming. It has to do with it's just you guys have it all figured out, and that's about all it is. I'm just jealous.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of that I put that, like I said, I put that on Alex, which is like he he's just very good at storytelling. He has a good eye, and it is a little bit frustrating as a snowboarder brain sometimes because I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go like jump off that thing, or like, oh, that'd be a good turn, or like we should do a follow cam right here, and he'll be like, mm, no, it looks like shit. I would never put that in the movie. You're just like, okay, like like if the light's not right or if he can't get like I said, I think he's doing kind of like almost like in camera editing where he's just like, oh, this light looks nice with that light, which correlates to this fucking interview or something. So it's kind of nice because he reduces it to a thing where you're just like, hey, you don't really waste much time. It's mostly like just professional filming aspects where he's very much like, yeah, that time we spent with Hayato, I think was like 3 days, and there's like a pretty large amount of interview and Hayato snowboarding a shitload and yeah. Either way, yeah, it's
I
good.
watched that segment and I was like, how in the world could I be like Hayato? Like the calmness, the satisfaction that he finds from snowboarding. He just seemed like the chillest dude. And that's the exact opposite of me. I'm so riddled with anxiety and just constantly fucking moving. It was inspiring for sure.
We need to get some hot springs in our backyard. I think that seems to be the key to life.
Yeah, and like I mean it's hard to say, but I know the two of you have traveled a lot too, but I think culturally it just is different. I don't I obviously have a huge love for the United States, and I'm really happy I grew up here. But you wouldn't put a sense of like peace and solitude and appreciating slow life, Mother Nature, nature in general, spirituality, wherever you don't. I don't know. You just don't really like place that on the hierarchy of kind of like principles here in the United States.
I do want to talk about the traveling because it's like I feel like traveling has been the best education, the most beneficial thing that's ever happened to me, and that's through snowboarding and working at the magazine and doing the announcing thing and stuff. Did you grow up traveling? Like you seem to have like a pretty grand sense of adventure. Was that a big part of your youth? Because it wasn't mine at all.
Mhm. No and yes. I grew up in like a very rural town, so my house backed up against like National Forest Service land. So, as far as like initially, probably, yeah, somewhere inside of me, I had freedom built in because my parents would be like, yeah, go fucking. My brother and I would just go spend all day like building forts and being little weirdos in the woods. But
What area was this?
it's the town's called Ramona, California. It's
Okay.
East County, San Diego. It's about an hour east of Oceanside.
Okay.
It's kind of like yeah, farming, rural town, like little one street town. It's really cute. Now that I'm an adult going back there, you're like, oh, it's beautiful. But as a kid, it's a small town.
How'd you get
Uh,
into snowboarding from there?
I surfed and I skateboarded already, and this kid that probably my best friend in seventh grade or something, his older brother was like, oh, we should go to Mountain High and go snowboarding. It's just like skateboarding, but you can like catch air really easy. So I went to Mountain High and I was like, holy shit, this is so much easier than surfing or skateboarding. um, but yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question about travel. Like I think we would go on road trips and go camping, but yeah, we didn't really travel. I don't think I traveled internationally until I was 18. I mean, we would go to Baja a bunch and,
Yeah.
like that type of travel, but still driving. Yeah, maybe it came from Baja. Like, Baja, especially in the 90s, was so fucking raw that going down there with my family, you definitely feel that sense of like you need to make yourself comfortable in like changing environments that aren't like presented as comfortable,
Yeah.
like comfortable presenting.
Yep.
Um, because I think now that I've traveled enough too, you're like, yeah, there's places that are actually really dangerous on Earth, but most of them are just like read the room and be cognizant of like what's going on, and you'll be safe
Yeah, it's
ish.
almost like I get that question a lot because we brought our daughter Louie to Mexico 6 times now for surf trips with
Yeah.
our friends in San Diego, and my family's always like, "Aren't isn't it so dangerous down there?" And I'm like, "No more dangerous than any major city in the U.S. Like if
Yeah.
you go looking for trouble, you'll probably find it, but if you just mind to yourself and do your own thing, it's mellow."
Yeah, and there's outliers, obviously. Like, there's some, I don't know if you saw those surf kids who got killed down there a couple years ago, and they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But yes, you could blame that on Mexico, or you could also just be like, oh, that happens on 82nd in Portland too. Like,
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
but yeah, I do feel somewhat. Um, I don't know, it's kind of corny, but I do feel kind of like attached to a global community more than just, a local community because I travel so much that I'm like, yeah, I'm from the United States and I love it, and I'm from California and I love it, and I live in Oregon and I love it. But, you know, politically, I'd like to be empathetic to the world first.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. We this Thanksgiving, my wife and I took our daughter Louie to Italy for 12 days, like her first big international on a plane trip. And I remember doing that when I was like 16 with my grandparents going to Europe, and you like feel a tingle. You're like, this is weird
Oh,
and
yeah.
uncomfortable, but it's cool. And I could see that in Louie, like in her eyes every single day. It was sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you
Italy's,
ever run into any scary predicaments with your family back in the day in Baja?
not really, not really scary. It's more like, I've had a couple, I guess I'd say, when I'm an adult now, where you go, that could have gone really bad, but it didn't, type of thing. It's weird to say, but I'm sober. I don't drink or do drugs. So, that just also initially, like, that minimizes your chances of getting into shit problems mostly in most places. Like, if you're not looking to buy drugs, do drugs, or be super inebriated at 2 a.m., you're going to minimize most travel risk.
I fully agree with that. The only honestly the only like sketchy situations I've gotten in Mexico was like in Tijuana fucked up with my buddies. And you like
Yeah.
cops pull you over and take your wallet out and take some money because you're
Yeah.
fucked up and you're not gonna fucking do anything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of whatever. But, yeah, I don't, yeah, I think I think, it's a crazy, bonus that, yeah, I can speak for the three of us that we've been able to travel, the world to, ride a piece of wood down the hill.
Yeah.
I
Um
think that's also a very good travel tip. If you're in an unknown place, maybe keep your head about you, and you're probably going to be pretty okay.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
you seem to have a really close relationship with your parents. Were they initially when you were like, I want to be a pro snowboarder, were they supportive or were they like, what are you doing? Like what is that?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. Yeah, I'm super close to both my parents. They're still married. They've been married for 50 years. They're just really, yeah, amazing, right? They're just very supportive humans. Like initially, like that's where they come from. Is they're just like great parental, like whatever you want to do. Pretty much the only big no I've ever really got in my life, like hard no, um, about like what I could do, physically or whatever, was football. Like American football was their only like, you can play any sport, you can do anything, we'll take you anywhere to do anything, but we're not going to allow you to play American football, like, hand football.
Yeah.
Which now I'm just like, kind of like you guys were right.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Funny enough, that's exactly was my parents' rules. I could
Really?
basically do anything, but they were not going to allow me to play football.
Yeah, and I don't know if I really cared that much, but I remember being like, I'm fucking pretty square. I'd be a good running back, like,
Yeah. I,
um,
I was a running back in Pee Wee football because my dad was a big football guy.
mhm.
And then I remember I went and started playing the second year, and everybody grew except me. So I was just literally the smallest person on the field. And I quit mid-season because I was getting headaches. True story.
Yeah,
And my dad
yeah,
was bummed, but I was like, my head is killing me all the time because I was
yeah.
just crushed.
Yeah, it's obviously dangerous, but yeah, snowboarding, they don't ski or snowboard. I've never been to the mountain I've never gone on a lift with my parents. So that was more just like blind parental support of like, go get them, kid. I don't know if I've like made this up in my brain, memories are somewhat just like reminiscent of your last thought about something, but I think at my first video premiere, I had a conversation with my dad where he like, I think he knew I was a snowboarder, but either way, something being like, "Oh, you also film?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm in the movie." And he's like, "Oh, well, you always told me you were going filming." And I'm like, "Well, yes, I'm just the person snowboarding in it, I'm not." But now I guess I do a bunch of filming also. But yeah, it was just funny of like their total disconnect from what the job what was. But now it's been 20, I don't know, 22 years or something of doing it as a job. So now they're like Noah Peterson. They know what's up. They're like very invested in all of it, and they've been like such a big part of my life that they know so much of our community as well. And so it's cool to just have parents who don't know anything about skiing and snowboarding, but just give a fuck about me, so they give a fuck about it.
Yeah,
I,
that resonates with me because my parents have never skied or snowboarded a day in their lives ever. And they never really drove me to the mountain. I would just jump in with my friend Mike because his dad was a big time skier, and it was like, go to school. Mike Leon's dad's gonna come pick you up and take you to the mountain.
Yeah, for
It's
I
sure.
was lucky to, there was a, what do you call them? Where do you gamble?
casinos.
Yeah, I was lucky enough there were casinos near the mountains I wanted to go to, so my parents would just drop me off and then go gambling for a few hours and then come pick me back up.
That's pretty
It was,
fire.
it was a good deal. Yeah, it was awesome.
Where did you
Uh,
grow up?
I grew up in Cleveland, but they would take us out to like Pennsylvania. But
Uh,
I mean, the hills around here are only 10-minute drive, so that wasn't an issue. But if we wanted to go somewhere bigger, like Holiday Valley or Seven Springs back in the day, they used to always drop me off after hitting the casinos.
Did you go to the Poconos, Mark? You ever go to the Poconos?
Yeah, that was a little farther east.
Okay, we used to
Unless
family ski trips to the Poconos because my uncles and aunts skied, and they used to give me so much shit for snowboarding. They're like, "Doesn't that slow you down every time you got to strap in?" And now I see them, and they're like, "You did it. Okay, yeah. We take it back. You made it happen somehow."
shit.
as far as yeah, like growing up to now, because obviously most pro snowboarders like growing up they're snowboarding all the time. Then when they start getting a lot of those sponsor obligations, they actually are a little bit off the hill more, or just with filming projects and everything. Now that you've gone through, obviously growing up snowboarding all the time, going through the filming parts nonstop where they were action based, and now you're doing some storytelling stuff as well as still obviously filming a lot of action clips. Do you think you ride more currently, or did you ride more, back in the day in your mid 20s? What was it at?
I mean, I would say for me, the first couple years of film and video parts, I was riding the most because I stopped having a job, right? So that obviously, then you're just like, oh shit, at that age too, where you could be like, holy fuck, I actually want to just snowboard like open to close every day. Okay, now you go filming trips, you go back to wherever you're living, snowboarding every day, work at High Cascade, and then also maybe the industry was like a little more flush then. So it was also like, okay, go to New Zealand for 2 weeks and maybe go to Argentina for 2 weeks. And then you got like 2 months and it starts snowing again. So yeah, probably, 25 years old, I was snowboarding an insane amount. So
Yeah.
yeah, way more than now.
Well, and also like your body can handle that without a ton of maintenance back then. You know what I mean? Like if I snowboard
Nah,
much,
you would be able to, you would right now. I think it's just because your life, it's easy to say like, oh no, that's your body when you're 25, but I think it's more your like time obligations were to it. So then your body, like I think right now, if either one of any of us just said, okay, like I'm gonna fuck off life and just snowboard 200 days this year, I think you would get back into that exact same shape.
oh, that'd be nice. That'd be awesome.
I think you would because you're just doing so many other things, sitting around more. I think the best way to condition your body, especially for something like snowboarding that's like a little bit wacky, it's not like, oh, I do a lot of push-ups, so I'm still in snowboard shape. Like you pretty much have to snowboard.
Yep. That is
Yeah.
true. It's a different type of than like gym fit. It's like
Yeah.
snowboard shape is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Crash shape, like, crash strong, crash fit or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, my brother just got a snow skate, and I've seen him take some pretty hard falls the past few weeks, just kind of learning it. And he's like, "No, it's great. This literally keeps me in crash shape." He's like, he's got a 2-year-old running around the house and everything. He goes, "No, I got to be agile. I'm falling all the time. I always got to catch this kid." I'm like, "All right, that works out." But watching a snow skate roll up underneath somebody and then them like full weight onto the thighs, onto that edge, not a fun look.
No, no.
Fox, I want to chat a little bit about because I got a funny little backstory. I don't know if I've ever told you, but when you did, was it Supernatural or Ultranatural when the magazines got to pick a rider to get an invite?
It was ultra.
Ultra.
Yeah.
I remember being. This is back when I smoked cigarettes, but I just landed in like Frankfurt Airport on a layover, and I was in those like shitty smoking booths like in the European airports. And Bridges called me and he's like, because Transworld got an invite and Snowboarder got an invite, and you could just pick someone and Trav would give him an invite, and Bridges was like, all right, who's it gonna be? And he had never really asked me, and I was like, dude, I think it should be Fox. He's like one of our guys, and Pat was like, yeah, let's send Fox. I don't
Whoa,
know
that was you.
that, but I was like smoking a Camel Light, just hung over as shit in the Frankfurt airport, and then that got us emotionally invested in it because I think Transworld invited UC.
Uh-huh.
That was
Yeah.
their invite, and then this is before social media and all the shit. I remember getting a text from Bridges. It said Fox got on the podium, and I was like, "Holy shit!" It was so fucking rad. But what was that experience like for you as someone who's like not a competitive? You were
Yeah.
a competitive snowboarder in your career. Did you flip a switch? Like, did that competitiveness turn on?
Well, first of all, thank you. That, like, honestly, I should send you a check.
No,
Um,
not needed. I don't know if I.
that, yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, I was like very, yeah, very much was part of that snowboarder moment. Like, I felt like I gave you guys a lot of love and you guys gave me a lot of love. That was a good moment in like media time. But I think the real honest answer is like I'm a competitive motherfucker. Like I actually am, like um I like to win. I like to be, like I still play football, like a European football, American soccer, and I really like a competitive atmosphere, but I never really grew up doing it with snowboarding, so it was like such it just like really never entered my sphere of like what I thought of with snowboarding. And I'm not like that good. I'm good. I'm good. I know that I'm like good. I'm a professional snowboarder. I'm good, but you see a different world of good when you go see a random unsponsored homie who does slope style like seriously, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's a different type of good.
Yeah.
So yeah, going to that contest was super intimidating also, because you're like, I remember the year before they pretty much clowned Mark McMorris. That was like part of the stream. Do you
Oh,
guys?
because that's right. Because Mark and Sage got in from X Games. This is like before they rode really powder or like
Yeah.
backcountry. Yeah.
Yeah, and they like used it as like part of the storytelling was like, look how bad he is. Like you're just like I was like, oh fuck, this could go like, two ways, really. And the two ways I actually saw it going were like really bad and embarrassing or like non-notable.
Yeah.
Just like I got fucking 11th and like they go, yeah, that's probably what he,
Yeah. Stayed on my feet, middle of the pack.
yeah, just like fine. But then that year, I had been spending a ton of time with Rube Goldberg in Whistler filming. He was like an old Nitro dude, and we became close friends. And he's really good friends with Sheen Campos,
Yeah.
who the year prior was a judge for Ultranatural. So like the day before I drove out to Baldface, I like sat in Rube's living room with Sheen and watched the whole last year's contest, and he was telling me how they judged. He'd be like, well, this dude hit this many features and they did this, and then one trick counts for this many. So, like, in that way, I basically then got like being like, okay, well, yeah, it is just like a math equation, not an actual like who's the best. You
Yeah.
know, you know, we don't really need to have the contest. We could just be like, yeah, Nicholas is here. He's the best. Like, give him the fucking award. Like
Yeah.
this is more of like today's math equation. What could you do to make these people like either way? So yeah, I thought about it pretty geek wise, and once the thing started going, I think I went like seventh. I dropped seventh. People were having a shitload of speed issues on the main jump or something. So I just started thinking about it like, okay, like if I could do a ton of tricks on the top part and just land the big jump, like I don't even need to care about somebody doing a double cork because no one's even clearing the jump now.
Right. And that was the tabletop, like it was a park jump with a powder landing at the bottom.
Yeah. And yeah, so I think half of it I got lucky, but half of it I was just like, how do I, manipulate this scenario? Because that's like, I mean, that's what backcountry contests are, which is different than slope style, which is like you can kind of do these. You see it still with these kids where you're like, well, why the fuck did that guy win? He still only did like two straight airs and a backside three, but everyone's like, Jared Elston did amazing. But it's like it's this thing where it's like there's a little bit of like,
Yeah, it's like a strategy thing too.
yeah, it's a
Yep.
little bit of acting and picking like, ooh, people are gonna think that's scary and not that, but they don't really, I don't know. It's a really weird contest structure. I judged for them 2 years ago,
Yeah, that was
um,
gonna be my next question.
and yeah, it's a really interesting. I mean, you guys, people have probably heard me say this, like, it isn't a sport, so it is all just, you know, like it's just judges' perspective of what they think is good.
Yep.
and and I can say now, being on the other side judging, it is true. You just are going, I think that's better. I
Yeah.
don't.
Was judging your cup of tea, or were you kind of like, eh?
It's just, yeah, a little bit, because I know them all. So it's also really difficult to you just know how much it means to people, and it's hard. It's hard when you don't have any good reason to really like not bag on someone, but you're like, yeah, I don't know, that just looked better, and it's honestly nothing you could have done. That person, the way that person was born and the way their body looks when they snowboard is just better than the way your body looks when you snowboard.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time I've ever thought snowboarding media and snowboarding judging is very similar.
For sure.
Kind of just like, yeah, all right, that stuff's cool. That sounds good. We can elevate that right now, and then we'll probably elevate another rider a different day.
Straight up. And it's also my argument why it's a culture, it's not a sport, because
Yeah.
it's feeling based, and like I'm really into European football. There's no feeling, there's no like, "Man, it was 3-1, but the way that guy kicks the ball is amazing, so we're giving it to them."
Yeah.
It's
I'm sure there's some feeling. I'm sure you've come close to heart attacks when your guys are like in the league finals and stuff like that.
yeah, but end of the day, it's just like you score the goals, you give up the goals, that's all that fucking matters. Like
Yeah.
in snowboarding, it is much more like, it's much more like just how does it starts with how does it make you feel, then secondary it starts with like how does that make somebody else feel when you're standing next to it, because we all, the way you start to appreciate snowboarding is all through that third layer of like, first layer is like how it makes you feel, you go down the mountain, you're like, this feels amazing, I love it. And then second layer is like your buddy does something and you're like, holy shit, I feel like that was amazing, I want to do something like something someone else did, you instantly go, okay, now I want to do that because you doing that inspired me so much. And then once it becomes like on a screen, it goes to like the uber professionals, and you can sit down in your living room and have that feeling of like, oh my god, I can't believe they did that.
Right. And when we were kids, when you found that person, you like cut that page out of the mag and stuck it to the wall. Like
Fuck yeah.
people would always ask like who my favorite snowboarders were, like my friends and stuff. They're like, "Who are you into right now?" And I'd be like, "Just whoever's on my wall. That's who I'm into." It was like there were some rogue ones too. Like I remember Dion De La Salle. Like I thought that dude was so fucking sick. Even though he wasn't a super duper pro, but like every Iris goggles ad, I would like cut out, boom, slap it on the wall. Aaron Vincent, like old
Yeah.
Tahoe dude. There were just people that spoke to us. And in mainstream sports, you can have a favorite team, but you can also have like favorite players. That's the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or just favorite boards.
Yep.
I mean, like the graphics on boards probably, that got a lot of kids into liking certain riders because they saw a graphic, they loved it, then they see someone riding, and then they go, "Oh, who's this?" And then kind of gets into it.
Yep.
Yeah. I always loved that. I don't know who's board. I think it was actually just a custom. I can't remember who it. I've never had a Burton. I never rode Burton boards, but there was this one Burton board with a turtle on the bottom. It was this like weird ocean scene, and still to this day, I could like. I think there's like a video of like Dave Downing doing like a backside three tail grab on it, and like I don't even know why, but that base graphic, I was always just like, Dave Downing's cool. He's got the turtle board.
Yeah. Yeah. You connect with like random shit.
Oh yeah, dude.
How does it feel to see people riding your guys' boards, like the Quiver that you've kind of obviously ushered into now, like iconic board lines in snowboarding?
Yeah, cool. So like such a dream, you're like, I yeah, I feel super fortunate. I mean, I think at some point I did make a decision to leave K2 to ride for Nitro because I could feel that that was a big part of Nitro's brand ethos, was that like it wasn't a marketing scheme that it was rider driven. It clearly was. There was a million pro models and the riders had so much influence over like where the brand went and how it felt. Um so yeah, I mean it feels like still to this day I'm sitting in a lift line and somebody like walks by with a board or something, like it's like 12-year-old, or I guess 14-year-old like Brian dream of just being like, whoa, that's crazy. That's a crazy dream come
Yeah.
true.
As far as art, like on the art sense, like it's like holding a gallery, but then your gallery is around you all the time if you're at a major resort. That's got to be crazy.
Yeah, and it's dude, it's a it's a really weird artistic outlet too, because like right now, like I said, I'm at Nitro right now, and I had a meeting with the headboard graphic designer about 26, 27 Quiver. So like I'm on 25, 26 Quivers that I'm already filming on, that I designed a year ago. Like you live in this weird perpetual, like this thing comes out, then I think about it now, but I need to know that it's coming out then. Like, where are color, like it's like it is also kind of a weird artistic outlet, because it'd be like, what kind of art are you into in a year and a half?
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
Like,
impossible.
what's your favorite band in a year and a half gonna be? You're like, fuck, I don't know what my favorite band is right now.
Right. Yeah.
But
Was it
yeah.
your idea to do like mainly just kind of the one color top sheet, like the different color palettes for the Quiver series? Because I think that's the most iconic part of it. It's just very little graphics. I think it's so dope.
Yeah, I mean, some of it was a reaction to just like, I'm not good at computer art, like I took Illustrator class in college, but generally, like, I'm not very proficient at using the computer side of graphics. So I would just try my hardest to make everything by hand, and they would scan it into the computer. And um yeah, I guess it was the idea that initially it was like, oh, it'd be, how do you make a board that somebody could keep for 10 years if it's not their standard park board, and it's like kind of like a secondary board. So it's not the board they'd probably at the start of the Quiver. It was like, oh, you have all these boards, and the way that you can keep something is have it be plain, so it doesn't ever become terrible. Like
It doesn't age.
it does, or like it just ages well.
Yeah.
And then the reason I started really looking at it as the big series is once I started going to trade shows, and I'd see that, like, oh shit, all the reps are putting like all the Quivers up on the side of the booth, or I'd go into a shop and a shop would have like every single one of them displayed. I'd be like, oh, that's a um like a nice moment for me to think about all of these as an art piece. And then once you see all of them together, you're like, oh, it's pretty, like, it affects you in some way. And now it kind of almost got to this place where it was like, yeah, it was like a long-term art project, where you're like, if you put them all together, there's no rhyme or reason to like when they even came out. It's just just great. But
I got stuck with I got a couple of them, and I got the year that it's like looks like a little neon spray paint across. I would say it's the least timely or lasting time look as far as this just really
yeah,
nice piece of art. Every
yeah,
time I look at it, I'm like, God damn, I love that board, but like I am so sick of that colorway.
yeah.
I
You're like,
just see, I'm like,
I wish I had
God.
a fucking blue one.
Yeah, out of every year that we see him in the office, we take photos of him and then put him in the mag. It's like I had to pick that year to grab him. That was the year. Come on.
Yeah, those ones are not harsh, but they were experimental as
A
far
little
as
loud. Little loud, yeah.
get allowed. Yeah.
Well,
Still light great though.
as it's still kind of early season, do you have any film plans coming up you can leak, or like what are some of the things running around in your head that you're going to start working on filming wise?
Yeah, the Nitro's making a full length like team film that, I'm not gonna say is like, it's not Sam's movie, but definitely like it's like Sam spearheading it, and kind of picked, I think maybe like 9 or 10 of us from Nitro's very large team to make kind of just like a condensed little like video part movie. So I'll be working on that. And then I kind of just like also do like brand servicing trips, if that, because everybody's jobs have kind of changed where like, now it's like, all right, these are the assets we need by the end of the year. So like these goggles, this outerwear, this thing, like give us this much shit and we'll give you this much money. And you go like, all right. But yeah, main game is to film for the Nitro film.
Cool.
Yeah.
And now my final question, the hardest hitting question I have of the day, is Mo Salah going to the Saudi League?
Dude, the amount of time I spent, Clavin's just like, what the fuck are you
Oh,
talking
no, no,
about?
no. I know soccer. That's Liverpool, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I got this.
You got it. All right, put me down for. I hope he doesn't.
me too.
He is at his like most superpowers currently, and I hope that he keeps playing at the top level. So that I keep watching. Him.
Where did when did you fall in love with Liverpool and why? Like, what's the Liverpool tie?
Oh, from Bob Plum, which is like super random. Bob's uncle's from Liverpool, and was like a crazy fan, and he would just watch games. This is probably 10 years ago or something. He would just randomly be watching games, and the game that I think the first game I watched with him was like a Europa League game. They played Dortmund. Dortmund and Liverpool both sing "You'll Never Walk Alone" like
Damn.
right before the game starts. Klopp was the It was this like crazy game. The game also ended up ending 4-3, like stoppage time winner. Like it was like, if you handed this to like an American person to be like, soccer's compelling, like watch this game, like it's the fucking game.
Yeah.
And I watched it and I was like, damn, this is like, I'll just support. I guess I'll just support this team. I had already been like really into watching football. Like I would go to Barcelona games to watch Messi or whatever, and
Yep.
people would always be like, you got to pick a team. You got to pick a team. Like, then you'll love it even more. And yeah, so pretty much through Bob. And then a couple years ago, it was actually the year, I think it was 2019, the year they won the league. It's like 1920. I flew Bob and I to England for a Liverpool game. We literally just like flew in on a Friday, took the train to Liverpool, watched the game on Sunday, and flew home on Monday.
That's so
And
sick.
they played Manchester United, and Mo Salah scored like a 90th minute goal. Like it's literally like one of the best. It's like it it is like on my list of things in life. I'm just like, I don't know, that might have been one of the more palpable moments of my life where like just feels fucking crazy to be in an arena with like 50,000 people with like that type of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
I took my wife and daughter and my buddy Reed and his son Jack flew over to Italy to meet us for a couple days, and we went to a Lazio game versus Bologna. And so like just because it's a core memory, my Serie A team is just I'm just gonna make it Lazio now. Start
Yeah.
cheering for them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're killing it too.
Yeah,
We
it's
wo-
doing really
we
well.
woke we woke up during COVID on the first day of the season. Watched a Liverpool game. They won. We decided to become fans of theirs. Then I found out Bob Plum is a lifelong fan of Liverpool, and now I am a Man U fan. So you all can go fuck yourselves.
That's yeah, you guys ever listen to like Rick Rubin at all? Like homie, crazy fucking
Yeah,
guru guy?
yeah, yeah.
I feel
Uh
like you know him. Do you not know him?
I don't. Yeah. Rick Rubin's my homie. We chat a lot. Um, no, but I was watching him talk about the Grateful Dead, and he's like, I never fucked with the Grateful Dead. I never understood why people loved them so much. It just never translated to me until I went and saw them live. I was like, all right, I guess I'll go to their show. And he's like, it was such a wild experience because they just jam. They don't go up there and play songs. They're just like a jam band. And what that means is that like maybe some of the shows suck and they like don't find it, and but why people are like going to these shows incessantly is because they want to be there the moment when they find it, and then you feel that magic, and it's the momentary magic that the person in the crowd goes, oh, they just found it and the song's amazing and it's this big experience. When I was listening to him talk about it, I was like, oh, that's why I fuck with football so hard,
Yep.
is because it's this live thing that yeah, maybe like half the games or three-quarters of the games might be boring and suck, but the moment when you're either at the game or watching the game and it like that thing happens, it's like such a human experience that you're like, yeah, I want to feel that fucking, magic. I think, and I really translate to that to the Jackson Hole Travis Rice contest,
Yep.
that live one, the first one. It felt like that. It felt like you're just like, I just want to be watching this the moment this magic happens of like, whether it's Ika or not Ika, sorry, Gigi or Sweeten when they first hit that jump, and you're just
Oh
like,
yeah.
no human could have just sat there and been like, I don't know, like it's just like fuck,
Yeah.
I'm
That
seeing the magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten to shoot a couple pretty big games like NBA Finals and stuff throughout my career, but honestly, yeah, I would say that Jackson Hole event felt like you were actually at like a Super Bowl type of
Yeah,
atmosphere. There
Yeah.
was just a lot of the energy on those days were insane.
Well,
Like
and
everyone's
also,
just so jazzed.
like from the back end of it going into it, it was so unknown. Not saying like it could have failed, but like you just didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. Like maybe this,
oh yeah,
as an announcer, you're like, what if no one because there was so much snow. You're like, what if no one has speed and everyone's just knuckling? What are we going to do in the booth? Like what happens if we have to hit like the nuclear button and just talk about like speed issues for 4 hours? But then as soon as Gigi hit that, we all looked at each other, like me and Salema and Mary and Bridges, and we were like, holy fuck, like it's on. It was
yeah,
game on. Yeah.
yeah.
Good point.
That's it's got to go down as like one of the cooler moments. I just think in snowboard history, really, where you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just like a dream come true to watch people
Yeah,
ride that type of stuff at that level.
Yeah.
there wasn't like energy drink and crazy sponsors all in your face all day with
Yeah,
like women in very tight clothing that they're very cold standing at the podium. It's just like it was fun. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I have a question. This is a little less serious. How did you get your voice so deep to narrate the Quiver? Yeah, it was very deep.
was it?
Oh, it was like Will Arnett level. You could do a Reese's cup commercial on that thing.
Damn. I don't know. Maybe it was just that it was like a really good microphone really close to my face, so I didn't have to like pronunciate like very well. Yeah, I have had Mia actually just hit me up, Trevor's wife, and was like, "Yo, not sure if this is good or bad, but you sound exactly like Joe Rogan on the group chat." And I was like, I think that might be like some bald. I think it's just two balds, Like I think you're just like placing us together. You're just saying he's bald, he sounds the same. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate you commenting on my voice.
Yeah,
It was
you're a very skilled conversationalist. I can say that.
Yeah, it used to be called just a shit talker, but now that podcasts have grown into this big sphere. It's just like, oh, so you just want to run your mouth and fucking, and also I guess the kids call it yapping.
Yeah.
Just a fucking paid to yap. Um,
I
but
that
yeah,
was we got into a cab one time together in LA after premiere, and I think someone was like, "Oh, where are you going?" I was like, "Oh, I'm getting a cab. Me and Brian are splitting one. We're at the same hotel." And someone said, "Oh, get ready for about 20 minutes of shit talking." I was like, "Okay." And I have to say, you did not shit talk the 20 minutes. It was a very pleasant ride.
fuck, man. Yeah, I mean, I think I some people, I think both of you actually probably have this, which like I don't know if it's from your parents, but like the two of you are generally, you have a nice demeanor. Like it's pretty much, yeah, be like, oh, those guys are really nice. Like both those dudes are kind, they're nice. That's your like, I mean, probably Mark, you're like a little bit more, you know, shit talker than Tom. Tom is clearly like in our industry, someone's like, oh, that guy's really fucking nice,
Oh, thank you.
Never was that my, stick in the industry. It was like, Brian, he's so nice, like, so maybe if I went back and did the long career again, um, I probably would have talked less shit when I was young or had less of a big mouth and maybe shut the fuck up sometimes, you know.
Well, you were always really nice to me, and I say this because I still think about this all the time. And I thought about this when we were working on like the Snowboarder Mag guest editor. I remember flying out, like Preston and Ben Fee and Andy Benhart got me a job at High Cascade. I wasn't like an industry dude. I was just like a kid that went to Plymouth State, and I went out and my first summer, I think Scotty Whitlake was living on the couch, which freaked me out because he was Scotty Whitlake. He was a really nice guy. But it was like Mike Branzel, Chris Hotel, Sean McKay, Whitlake, and I was just like, I was so overwhelmed by the plethora of snowboard skill around me. And I remember you and James Jackson specifically were like on the come up. You were kind of big dogs in the space, and you guys were really fucking nice to me all the time. Never gave me shit. Super kind. So
Yeah,
I
I
appreciate
mean,
that.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, the shit talk part of me would be like, well, yeah, that's because you were a good dude. Like most of the people who have felt my wrath are probably fucking dumbasses.
Well, I'll never forget too. James was the head digger at the time of the park control in the park, and I think you guys all worked for him. And James was married to Ann at the time, and Ann was running the demo center. And Preston was like, "See that dude over there? That's James Jackson. You get on his good side, you're gonna have a fucking awesome summer." And so Ann was like, "Does anyone want to help me paint the demo center? I have to paint the walls blue." And I just put my hand up. I was like, "I'll do it." And then James liked me because of that, and my summer was smooth as silk, baby.
Yeah, smart boy. And then, what do you think that was? 22 years ago?
Yeah, that was like 2002, I think, was my first summer. Maybe '01 or '02. Long time ago.
That's crazy. How old are you?
43.
Oh, just a baby. Mark, how old are you?
32.
Oh my God, you've aged poorly.
That's called health issues, baby. Oh yeah.
It's also pretty much nighttime now in Cleveland from what I've just been watching.
Just get like a little darker.
Yeah, you guys kept being like, "Oh no, we'll just do it a little bit later." I was like, "Yeah, I don't have professional lighting equipment, so this is going to get interesting." Do I just look like a floating head?
Hey, you look good. Well, Fox, dude, thank you so much for your time, man. This was a fun one. This one flew by, and we're gonna have to have you on again. That was fun as hell.
Yeah, I love yapping.
In a world full of round saunas, we're glad to have somebody that built their own square one in the woods. So, thank you.
And dude, I'd love
Okay,
next time you're in
100%.
Portland, I'd love to catch a Blazers game with you if you're down.
Yeah, honestly, I always think that when I see those on your story. I lived in Portland for 25 years. I've never been to a Blazers game. So,
They're fun, man. Good fans. Super
yeah,
fun.
absolutely.
And
All right, boys.
go Man U. All right, see you guys later.
Fucking die, man, you, dude.